I was on my way to Julia's house for a study sesh when out of nowhere, I found myself flying onto the ground. I was so stunned, I didn't even see the ball that had hit me, or the fact there was a cute guy rushing over to check if I was okay. He helped me up and apologized. Then he pulled a Band-Aid out of his bag. Oh my, who is he? I'd scraped my hand pretty badly, but I almost didn't mind because now I was face to face with a gorgeous guy. In fact, I was so busy staring at him and blushing that I didn't even notice Julia marching towards us.
What are you two doing?
Turns out the cute guy was Callum, Julia's boyfriend. Ugh, Julia. Of course. Every nice thing is always hers. I'm Jenny, by the way, and that lucky girl is Julia. She's the daughter of the richest guy in town, Mr. Walsh. We're supposed to be friends, but we honestly have nothing in common. I mean, my family is pretty poor. It's not our fault, though. My dad sadly passed away, and so it's just me and my mom trying to make ends meet. Julia, on the other hand, has a silver spoon shoved down her throat. But fate still brought us together. I know it's kind of wrong, but that night I couldn't stop thinking about Callum. He now, in fact, gave me motivation for the next study session with bossy Julia, as maybe he would be there again. I even put on makeup and skipping on the way to her house the next day. But, well, it was all for nothing, because Callum was nowhere to be seen. Instead, I had to sit and listen to Julia go on and on about her trip to Paris. I pretended that I was okay, but actually, I always dreamed of visiting the city of light and gazing up at the Eiffel Tower ever since watching Emily in Paris. Dream on, Jenny. Anyway, Julia was incessant. She loved making me look like a fool, and even said, "Aw, poor Jenny. Maybe one day you'll get to go to Paris. But until then, you can just look at all my photos." Honestly, why was she so cruel to me? Last year around my birthday, she'd even shown me a fashion magazine and asked me which dress I liked best. I thought she was buying gifts for me, but instead, she showed up at my party in the exact dress I pointed out. I couldn't believe it. She just winked at me and laughed, and I seriously wanted to scream at her. Anyway, after looking at about 1 billion Paris pics, Mr. Walsh appeared. He looked happy to see us sitting so close and studying together. If only he knew the truth. But I had to pretend I had a lot of fun with Julia and helping her study, at least for his sake. Mr. Walsh was a good friend of our family, and ever since my dad passed away, he'd been looking out for me, and was even paying my school fees. I couldn't let him down. But you know what? I actually started to get excited to go over to Julia's now, as the thought of bumping into Callum again gave me butterflies. I even got myself a new hairstyle, but he was never there, and I always left feeling disappointed. Then one time, after school, it started to rain dogs and cats, and I had to run for it. Then suddenly I felt an umbrella over my head. Guess what? It was Callum coming to the rescue. It was like something out of a romantic movie. He even offered me a lift home. My heart was racing so hard I was afraid he'd hear it. I just sat there in silence, dripping rain all over his clean car. I even caught him looking over at me a few times, and my heart felt like it was going to leap out of my chest. He pulled up at my house, so I was about to get out when he touched my arm and said, "Can I get your number?" I was confused. I mean, wasn't he Julia's boyfriend? He then explained that he was just hired to be her fake boyfriend so that all the flirty boys would get out of her way. Wow, I couldn't believe it. He asked me to keep it a secret, as Julia would end us both if this story got out. Okay, it all made sense now. That's why he never came over to her house. I felt so happy. Over the next few days, Callum and I chatted a lot on the phone, and then eventually he asked me out on a date. We went to the fun fair, and right away he held my hand. It made me feel so special, and I never wanted him to let go. We were having so much fun, then a familiar voice pierced the air. "Well, well, well. Isn't that my dear friend, Jenny?" I felt dread rush through my whole body. We turned around, and there was Julia and her girl gang all standing there with their arms crossed. Callum dropped my hand and rushed to Julia's side. "It was all her, babe. You gotta see the messages she sent. She's been flirting with me for weeks. It's pathetic." Whoa, was he for real? A second ago he was about to lean in for a kiss, and now he was bad-mouthing me? How could he be so two-faced? I tried to explain to Julia, but she wouldn't listen. She just called me a traitor in front of everyone, and told all her friends to lock up their boyfriends in case I try it on with one of theirs next. I was devastated. Everyone was staring at me and judging me, Ugh, if only I could vanish into thin air right now. And as I was thinking about where I could escape to, a guy appeared, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me away. It was Stefan, the guy who lived across the road from me. I didn't understand why he helped me, but I was so grateful that he did. He walked me home and tried to cheer me up by saying how his mom used to love our bakery so much, and that the carrot cake my mom made was his mom's fave. This made me smile, thinking back on all those happy times in our family bakery. When my dad had died, we'd had to sell it to pay off some debt, and life had become quite difficult. Luckily, Mr. Walsh was helping out, but after what just happened with Julia, I wasn't sure I'd be able to face him. The next day at school, everyone was staring at me. I couldn't even find a place to sit at lunch. What had I done? I'd ruined everything. And then it got worse. My phone beeped. It was Mr. Walsh. He said he was so disappointed in me and that I no longer needed to come and tutor his daughter. I wanted to cry, and at the same time, I felt so much relief. But then I read on, and he said, "I'm sorry, but I can't keep my promise anymore. I'll continue to subsidize your school fees, but you'll have to figure something out for college. Good luck." My heart plummeted. Not only had I been shunned by everyone at school and backstabbed by Callum, but now the door to college was being slammed in my face too. What would I do? My life was over. I felt so sick. I just walked out of the canteen and went home. I didn't dare go to school over the next few days. I was miserable. And just when I'd given up all hope, there was a knock at my door. It was Callum. What was he doing here? He said he was sorry for what had happened and that he missed me so much. Then he asked me if I'd be interested in being his secret girlfriend. What in the world? I was so angry, I wanted to slam the door in his face. But he was fast enough to catch my hand, which took me aback. At that exact moment, Stefan happened to walk past. Seeing me standing there with Callum, his face changed and he immediately walked away. Oh, no. I definitely couldn't let him misunderstand anything about me anymore. He's the only friend I had left. I yanked my arm away from Callum and chased after Stefan. I finally caught up with him and blurted out how I'd been feeling like the whole world was against me and that I didn't know what to do. He told me to calm down, then we went to sit on a bench in the park, as he let me confide everything in him. By the time I finished talking, I was on the verge of tears. Then he said, "Listen, Jenny, you're better than this. Don't dim to fit in with those people at your school. Good people will see you for the real you. You're strong, and you can get through anything. I know you can." He was right. I was better than this. I didn't need to sink as low as Julia and her friends, and I certainly didn't need to rely on Mr. Walsh's money. I'd figure this out by myself, like I always did. So I applied for a part-time job at a coffee shop. Earning my own money felt so good. Suddenly I felt free, and I knew everything was going to be okay. But then one day when I was working, Julia and her gang came in. They still weren't over what happened, and in front of everyone, they brought up what I'd done to humiliate me, and they even recorded it, and I couldn't stop shaking. This was too much. That's when I threw a cup of coffee all over Julia and ran out of there. Julia shouted after me that she was going to tell my mom everything I'd done. Without a doubt, Julia really did it. She even sent my mom photos of me and Callum at the fair. And well, my mom didn't take it well. I rushed home to try and explain after Mom yelled at me over the phone. But then I couldn't find Mom anywhere. I called her phone and a man answered. He said my mom was in a hospital after she fainted? Oh dear good God! I got to the hospital immediately and found out that she had collapsed from shock, but thankfully she was okay. She had to stay in the rest of the day to be monitored, so I went to get us both a cup of coffee. That's when I saw him. Callum. He was in the ward next door sitting with some girl. I almost dropped the coffee out of shock. They looked close. I waited until he'd left, and then I went to ask the girl if Callum was her boyfriend. Well, turns out they'd been dating for 2 years already. So he was triple cheating? The girl deserved to know the truth, so I took a deep breath and told her everything. She was so upset. We decided to get our own back. So the girl called Callum and asked him to come back. As soon as he arrived, we confronted him and got the truth once and for all. He was never Julia's real boyfriend. In fact, here's the shocking part. He was hired by Julia to pretend to date me and ruin my life. Apparently, she was jealous of how much attention her dad gave me since my dad had died, and that her dad constantly compared her to me. He kept apologizing to his girlfriend, saying how much he loved her, and that he only agreed to help Julia so that he could earn some money to help pay for her medical bills. I was stunned. Callum was so apologetic and said he'd come clean about everything. He posted it on the school forum to clear my name, and to everyone to see the ugly truth about Julia. And of course, when Mr. Walsh saw it, he made her come and apologize to me. And he also apologized himself and offered to pay my college fees again. Do you think I accepted his offer? Of course not. I was standing on my own feet now, and there was no going back. I didn't need anyone's help. So you might be wondering how I could afford college? Surely not on my coffee shop salary, right? Well, after graduating high school, I realized how much I missed the bakery. That was where I truly felt happy. So I decided to study to become a pastry chef, and now my mom and I have opened a new bakery. I've never been happier. And there's one last thing I want to share. Oh, in fact, here he is. Hey, Stefan, I've made your mom's fave. Let's go surprise her. I couldn't stop smiling as Stefan took the carrot cake, kissed my cheek, and we headed for his car. Life is so much more simple now, and sweet, and I love it.
I used to think that being beautiful meant I'd sail through life and always get whatever I wanted. Yeah, I know this sounds dumb, but back in high school, life was so much easier down to my good looks. All it took was a flutter of my eyelashes, and the nerds would do my homework for me. And girls invited me to their parties because they knew me going meant the cute boys would go too. It was nice having attention from other boys, but I was only interested in my boyfriend, Logan. He was a senior, and he was just perfect. He was so handsome, super smart, and a sports pro. There was one teeny tiny problem. I sucked at studying. It was just so boring. But to be honest, it didn't matter anyways, as I was beautiful. And being beautiful was enough. Besides, I did have one passion. I love singing and composing music. I don't publicize them or anything, but I'm not gonna lie, they were quite catchy. We had one long summer together before Logan went off to college. So I decided to surprise him with a love song I'd written for him. I showed up at his house with my guitar, ready to play it to him, but before I could start it, he said, "Ailey, I want to break up." What? Why? I spluttered out. "I've met someone else. She isn't as beautiful as you, but she's smarter. We're going to study at Stanford together. Let's face it, a place like that's way out of your reach." I couldn't believe what I just heard. I grabbed his arm and begged him to give our love another chance, but he just walked away. During the next few days, I kept calling and texting him, but he ghosted me completely. Feeling desperate, I searched for his girlfriend's info on social media and found out her name was Jolie, and she was one of the top students of another high school in the city. And OMG, how could he fall in love with such an ugly girl? Oh, turns out Logan wanted a smart girl, huh? So if I got into this college, then he would take me back, right? I mean, surely he'd pick a smart and beautiful girl over a smart, ugly one. That settled it. I was going to work my butt off for my senior year to get into Stanford. Geez, studying was way harder than I anticipated. It didn't help that I had loads of catching up to do. And why did Logan have to study economics? All the numbers and graphs made me feel super dizzy. I didn't know where to start. Everything was new to me, so I had to ask a couple of my nerdy admirers to help me out. At first, they actually laughed at me as they thought I was kidding. But when they realized I was being deadly serious, they handed me some books and tried explaining stuff to me. I even spent my break times in the library. Ugh, why was it like a maze in there? I swear I got lost and couldn't find my way out for at least an hour. One time, I even fell asleep in the library, and some dude thought it was funny to take a picture. And for days after that, everyone at school passed around the photo of me drooling on a pile of books. Ew! But despite those hardships, I couldn't give up. I even stuck a photo of Logan to my wall to remind me of my goal. I stopped hanging out with my friends and didn't go to any more parties. And I even missed prom to study. Needless to say, my friends really thought that I was insane or something. Even my mom was so worried that she wanted to take me to the hospital to be checked over. OMG. How ridiculous. Stop overreacting, people. Have you never seen a hardworking, beautiful girl before? And then something crazy happened. I received my letter from Stanford, and OMG, guess what? I got in. I couldn't believe it. and neither did my family and friends. Everyone was so surprised and happy for me. To be honest, giving up on music was a pity, but studying music wouldn't help me get Logan back, and this would. I was going to be at the same college as him, studying the same course, albeit a year behind. What could possibly go wrong? So, I moved to college and ended up with the geekiest roommate ever. She actually plastered math equations onto the walls. Ugh, what a weird girl. Moreover, studying here was even more boring than in high school. Much more. One time during a macroeconomics class, yep, it's as boring as it sounds, I had my earbuds in and was thinking up song lyrics when someone knocked on my desk. How dare they interrupt my creative flow? So I blurted out, "1 second, I'm writing," while my eyes were still on my notebook. Then I looked up to see Professor Bentley standing there. He snatched my notebook, saw my lyrics, then told me, "Get out at once and never come back." Whatever, I was sick of this snooze-inducing subject anyway. Seriously, watching paint dry would have been more fun. I stormed out of there, ranting to myself about how I hated his lame class, when I turned a corner and saw Logan holding hands with his ugly girlfriend. Ugh! Why now? Logan stared at me like he'd seen a ghost, then asked, "Haley, what are you doing here?" I forced a smile at him, but before I could say anything, his girlfriend spoke out. "Oh, you're Ailey, my boyfriend's infamous stalker? Let me guess, Professor Bentley kicked you out? Figures, as he's allergic to brainless girls." Then she dragged Logan away. How dare she mock me? I was far too beautiful to be spoken to like that by the likes of her. I was going to show her. I'd soon win back my man. I went back to my room and listed some ideas. I could buy him a gift. Nah, too obvious. Or I could tag him in pictures of us together. Nah, too desperate. I know. I should stick to what I'm good at. In my case, that's music. Besides, how romantic would me singing a love song to him be? He wouldn't be able to resist. Some days later, I took my guitar out into the yard. A crowd began to gather around me, so I said, "I wrote this song for my ex, Logan. Just wanted to say that I love you so much. Will you be my boyfriend again?" Everyone around me cheered, and it made me even more excited, and I started singing. After I finished my song, Logan and Jolie appeared. He looked awkward, and she looked so mad, I thought steam might come out of her ears. Whatever, I didn't care about her. I shimmied over to them, then touched his shoulder. "Honey, I worked so hard to get into the same college as you. Now, will you come back to me?" Then, to my surprise, he angrily said, "Illy, please stop. We're over. You're crazy. All of this is crazy. Now, please, leave me alone." I stood there gobsmacked as he took Jolie's hand and they walked off. I could hear the crowd whispering about me. I felt like my world was falling down. I was moping on my bed, daydreaming about happier days with Logan, when my roommate threw her phone onto my bed and said, "You might want to see this." I looked at it. What? It was me. Someone had filmed my failed serenade attempt, and now I'd gone viral. But the majority of the comments were super supportive, saying I had an awesome voice. After that, everyone in college knew my name. Okay, so all the attention felt good. Due to popular demand, I ended up releasing my song. Even the student council of the college invited me to join a performance at the school celebration. My college life just got better, as I was doing what I loved, and I made new friends. But I felt far from ecstatic, as I hated my course, and I still hadn't won Logan back. One evening, while I was stretching on the couch and thinking about Logan, a text arrived. It was from a strange number. They told me to hurry over to the dorm yard, as there was something wrong with Logan. There was a huge crowd gathered there. Oh no, this must be serious. Frantically, I pushed through them, and that's when I saw Logan standing there with his back to me, in the middle of a candle heart shape. He must have sent me the message. I shakily walked toward him, and then softly called his name. He turned around, got on one knee, but his face was still fixed on the ground. Then, to my surprise, he said, "I really love you, and want to be a part of your life. Will you marry me, Jolie?" Oh. Wait, what? Jolie? I shouted. He looked up at me and loudly said, "Ailey, what are you doing here?" Huh? What was going on? I looked back, and that's when I saw that some of their friends were standing behind me with some affectionate photos of Jolie and Logan, and also banners saying, "Will you marry me, Jolie?" Okay, so this clearly wasn't for me. Suddenly, Jolie appeared, and in a mocking voice said, "First you stalk my boyfriend, and now you ruin our proposal? Get real! He doesn't want you." Before I could say anything, Logan yelled at me. "Oh, Ailey, please stop it. I'm begging you. Stop being so obsessed. It makes me sick. I don't love you anymore. And I'm never going to want you back." I stood there totally mortified. I heard the crowd jeering at me and taking photos. I quickly ran away with tears streaming down my face. I angrily dialed back the phone number that had sent me the message, but it was blocked. This must have been someone's idea of a sick joke. A week later, my phone buzzed. What? It was from Logan. I quickly opened the message. "Hi, Ailey. Look, I found out that Jolie sent you the message to meet at the yard. My friend let slip to her about the proposal, so she came up with that prank to embarrass you. Your behavior made her feel very insecure, and although it was wrong what she did, you brought it on yourself. Please move on and find happiness, as this isn't you. Your actions have made you ugly, and you've lost yourself." I burst into tears because I knew he was right. I gave up on my passion and applied for a course I had no interest in, and all for this guy that still didn't choose me. Now it was time to give up on Logan and this college. After all, neither were right for me. I might be beautiful, but looks alone don't buy someone's love. There's so much more to it than that. For now, I've moved back home, but I'm going to put my heart and soul into my music, then apply to a music school majoring in composition, because I finally realized that it isn't Logan who will make me happy. It's my passion.
Sarah, it's about time you got married. What are you talking about? Get married? Not a chance. I'm still in school. Oh, give me a break. Marrying a rich guy will bring you more money than school ever will. Mom, I'm not like you. I actually like school. Now leave me alone. That was the conversation between my mom and I about 2 months ago. Well, look at me now. Here I am staying in one of the most luxurious villas in Boston. My name's Sarah, by the way, and I'm 16 and in high school. My life hasn't ever been normal. For starters, I don't have a dad, and my mom is totally irresponsible, choosing to spend any money we have on partying and men. Of course, she doesn't even have a job, so we rely on her latest fling to help support us. My mom has never really cared about me, so I just stay out of her life as well. She can do what she wants as long as I can do what I want, and what I want is to study really hard so that I can have a better life than hers. But as usual, she intervened in that plan, and 2 months ago she forced me to quit high school and get married. Obviously, I refused, and I even went on a hunger strike for a few days. But then one day she said, "Tomorrow, our two families will meet. If you don't rock up, I'll go to your school and tell them you're not coming back. But if you come, you can still go to school, at least until the wedding." Ugh, school. She's using what I love most against me, again, to force me to follow all of her ridiculous plans. Fine, I agreed. I mean, it was just a meetup. It's not like they could pressure me to get married right away, right? So the next day, I followed my mom to go meet Adam's family. I was shocked when I saw him. He was wearing a mask that covered half of his face, and he just sat there, not uttering a word, just staring at me without even blinking. Honestly, it was so creepy. His parents seemed nice, though, and they explained that he'd been in an accident when he was a kid, which had left him with a severe burn scar on his face. So he wore the mask to avoid scaring people off. I could see him watching me, waiting for my reaction. So I tried to smile back. I felt so bad for him. But at the same time, there was no way I wanted to spend my life with this guy. So I decided to put my plan into action. All I had to do was get his parents to disagree with the arrangement. So I acted as clumsy as possible. I wanted to give the worst first impression ever. As soon as the wine was poured, I leaned over and knocked his mom's glass all over her white dress. My mom looked mortified, but I didn't stop there. I ate with my hands and dropped food all over the table and kept chewing with my mouth wide open. But no matter how hard I tried, Adam's parents still seemed to like me, and I could see him slightly smirking at me. What did a girl have to do to put this family off? Clearly they were desperate. Near the end of the meal, they started discussing the engagement. Apparently, I'd move into Adam's family house so we could get to know each other. Then, if I could help Adam to feel less insecure, they'd let me finish high school before we had to get married. So didn't that mean they just wanted a friend for Adam? Someone to keep him company? It's not that bad. I guess I can do that then. So after the engagement, I moved into Adam's mansion. After school every day, I'd hang out with him and try to cheer him up. I'd play him my fave music, show him some epic movies, even try telling him jokes. But still, he barely smiled. He wasn't interested in anything I liked. Then one day I was struggling with my science homework when he passed by and decided to check out what I was doing. Suddenly, he started chatting away, and I realized how much he loved chemistry and physics. He even offered to help me with my assignments. He was so passionate about those subjects, and this was a win-win, because I'd finally found something we could discuss. He even started opening up to me. It was a start. I began to feel more comfortable around him. On one sunny day, I even asked Adam if he wanted to play a game of badminton. At first, he refused, as he didn't like being outside, but I wouldn't stop begging until he said, "Fine. Have you played this game before?" "No." "Okay, then let me show you." I was so excited to teach Adam. Although I'm not great at hand-eye coordination, I'd been playing badminton a lot at school, so I felt pretty confident. Finally, I'd found something I was better at than him. Ha! Okay, so I spoke too soon. After a few missed serves, he somehow mastered the shuttlecock and kicked my ass. Why did you say you've never played this before? 'Cause it's the truth. I don't believe you. Adam just shrugged and then left me lying on the ground. He had to be bluffing. It's impossible for anyone to be that good the first time they do something. Ugh. But it was fun, I guess. Adam was growing on me, but I couldn't be around him 24/7 as I had classes to attend. And no cap, I was extremely happy that I still got to go to school. Plus, at school something incredible happened. One day I was walking through the schoolyard when I tripped over a can. Just as I was about to faceplant on the ground, a hand appeared and pulled me back up. We made eye contact, and I swear it was love at first sight. His name was Brian, and he's super handsome. From that moment on, we texted nonstop every day, and it wasn't long before he asked me to be his girlfriend. And of course I said yes. I was smitten, but I obviously had to hide it from Adam and his parents. One night, I was on the phone with Brian when suddenly a text from my mom arrived. In fact, ever since the engagement, she hadn't even been in touch. Maybe she was too busy spending the huge amount of money that Adam's parents had given her. "Sarah, I really need some cash, just around $500. Can you please ask Adam if he can lend me it?" What? How have you already spent the money his parents gave you? Stop asking questions, just get me that money, okay? Ugh, money, money, money. All she cared about was money. She didn't even ask if I was okay. I want to ask, can you get me some money? Money? For what? I need to pay for my tutoring class. I haven't had money to pay for the past few months. How much do you need? About $500. Okay, I'll tell the butler he'll give it to you later. Phew. That was easier than I thought. But Adam didn't ask twice about it. Was it because that amounts just nothing to a rich guy like him? Anyway, at least he'd said yes. That would shut my mom up for a bit. If only. A few days later, she texted me again. This time she wanted $3,000. Was she kidding me? I just ignored her. But she kept bombarding me with texts and calls. It went on for days. She wouldn't leave me alone. I didn't give in, though, until this photo was sent to my phone. It was of me and Brian holding hands and clearly in love. Turns out my mom had been so desperate for the money, she'd turned up at my school one day to talk face to face, and that's when she saw us together. She then threatened me and said that if I didn't get her the money, she'd tell Adam's family what I was up to. This terrified me, because then I'd have nowhere to go, and I wouldn't be able to go to school anymore. I couldn't let that happen. I had no other choice but to keep asking Adam for the money with my lame excuses. From buying books, to a relative who was ill and needed treatment, you name it, I'd use it. Every time I asked Adam, he looked at me like he was worried about me and asked if I was okay. This made me feel even more guilty, because it seemed like he genuinely cared about me. To make up for it, I'd bake him cookies and even knit a cute sweater for him as a birthday gift. But then, a few weeks later, he asked if we could talk. As soon as I walked into his room, he threw a bunch of photos at me. They were all of me and Brian. I couldn't believe it. Did my mother betray me? But that's not the case. He told me how he'd had someone follow me because he felt I'd been acting weird. Not only had he discovered I was dating someone, he'd also found out that I'd been lying about the money and giving it to my mom. He was so disappointed in me.
Please leave me alone. I don't want to see you anymore.
I was so worried I'd be kicked out of their house, but no one mentioned anything. His parents still chatted to me at dinner and they seemed happy enough. Only Adam avoided me, which of course made me feel terrible. The only one I had to lean on right now was my sweet Brian. So after dinner one night, I decided to go over to his place. I really needed some comfort right now. But when I arrived outside, through the window, I saw another girl in his room. They started kissing, and I thought I was going to be sick. In a panic, I quickly crawled over and hid below his window to listen in. But aren't you a bit too close with that Sarah girl lately? Don't you dare.
Don't worry, Pumpkin. It was all just for you. I noticed that she lives in a big mansion with personal drivers and all. Her family must be filthy rich. So I just wanted to be a good friend and help them spend those money. You know, and maybe that way I could get you the new Chanel handbag that you always want.
Oh, really, honey? So, how's it going?
Well, a dud. Seems like she's the stingy kind of rich girl. Ugh, keeping every single nickel all to herself.
How was I supposed to believe what I'd just heard? My heart was shattered into pieces, and I couldn't hold it in anymore. I stood up and put my face against the window. You're dumped! Brian looked so shocked to see me there, but I didn't wait to see if he had anything to say. I just ran home in tears and locked myself in my room.
Sarah, open the door. Do you know how many days you haven't eaten for? Sarah, open the door. If not, I will send someone to break the door down. Oh, God, are you okay? What's going on?
Nothing. I'm sorry. Sorry for lying to you all this time. I didn't mean to. Suddenly, Adam hugged me and said,
It's okay. Don't cry. Now, can you just tell me what happened?
In tears, I told Adam the whole story. From being used by my mother to being betrayed by Brian. Perhaps this is what I deserve for lying to you.
Actually, if I were you, I wouldn't want to marry someone like me anyway.
You're a great guy. As long as you have confidence in yourself and live with a more positive attitude, good things will happen to you, I promise.
Even with this ugly face?
I looked up at Adam and, oh my gosh, the burn scar on his face. It was worse than I thought it would be. I reached out to touch it. It must have been so painful.
Can we start over? Keep helping me, okay?
I looked at Adam, smiled and nodded. So after that day, I continued to stay at Adam's house and help him get out of the isolated, self-deprecating life he'd been living. Gradually, his attitude improved, and he even started taking a business course to get ready for taking over his family's company in the future. I also encouraged him to start taking off his mask. Love everything about yourself, including that scar. As for my mom, she's currently being detained for her illegal gambling. Yep, that's what she spent all that money on. She'll probably end up in prison. And even though this isn't what I want for her, she kind of deserves it. Oh, and about the wedding, we postponed it. Lucky for me, both Adam and his parents want me to go to college first and pursue my dreams. Once I graduate, we'll probably start planning our wedding, though, and it'll be truly out of love this time.